our own vows, but we were doing so many traditional things because we got married at a Catholic wedding. We did a Catholic wedding, and there were certain traditions that we incorporated, like the sand. We mixed the sand together. We did the exchange of coins. So it's like John gives the coins to me as a show of like, this is the flow of money. And then there's this, it's a Mexican tradition, but I've always really admired how beautiful, the significant meaning behind it. And it's basically where you take the cross, the rosary, and you tie the rosary. You get like a bride's lasso, they call it in Spanish. So I just translated that to Spanish. And it has two sides, and basically it's the idea of, this is John, this is Sideri, but together now they're no longer one. They're no longer two individuals. They're one in God's name.
Like godmothers, they did, and they was like crying and stuff.
Yeah, his godmother, my aunt, who I'm really close to, and that to me, I really wanted to make sure that whoever put the lasso on us was someone who I knew, just like you were saying, was going to be supportive and was going to hold us responsible for anywhere that I was wrong, and I just wanted to be stubborn and not realize that I was wrong, that would call me out on my shit. And so it was my aunt, and it was his godmother, who's like his aunt, and that to me was one of the most special moments. And so our pastor was like, our father was like, you can't write vows, like that's too much. And so, but like a couple weeks before we got married, his mom had like a mass at her house for religious purposes, and she was like, let's just share the love. And everybody was like talking about how much they loved each other and stuff like that. And so I looked at John, and John looked at me, and they were like, that's the vows. You guys just got married. So we have that moment to always look back on it. It's cool. So it wasn't like that big of a deal that we didn't get to write our own vows.
It's so funny because I'm a little anal retentive. So I told him, I was like, please don't do that. Like, please don't wait to write your vow. Like, please don't do that. Like, please don't do that. And I had been writing my vows for like months because, first of all, I love to write. I believe language is so important. Yes. I'm very intentional with my words. So there were things that were happening over months that I wrote down and like incorporated into our vows. And then I'd put in and take stuff out. So I had been writing mine for months. And he writes his 2 hours before when he's drunk. But what was really...
drunk. I was tipsy. But so for me, I love to write too. But what I've learned about my writing is that I can't force it. I have to let it come.
I'm like the same way.
I have to let it come to me because there'll be times where I'm trying to force it and it doesn't work, and the next day I can write 3 pages, right?
So you meditate thinking, then
it has to come to me.
You left or right-handed?
Right. And I mean,
I do the same.
His vows were absolutely beautiful. I was crying, he was crying, and what I thought was the most beautiful was that both of us in our vows talked about freedom, like how we found like freedom in our relationship with each other, like freedom for our relationship and freedom for like who we are, that our relationship is like setting us free. And that wasn't planned at all, like not at all. So to hear him, especially as like, a black man in America, talk about like, I have a little bit of freedom in what we've created. I was just like, it was just like, so that was the point that Jessica also cried. Like everybody was crying at that point. Because I think that's just, I think that again speaks to like the nature of our relationship. And it's like, how can we create a space where both of us can show up as our best, most free selves in this relationship?
Especially like being a black man in America, there's a lot of things that we can't, or they tell us we shouldn't do, and it's a certain type of mold that we're supposed to fit in. But when you have a partner that is like open to a lot of things and you being your best self, and we can talk about it, and it's kind of just like I can be who I want to be because it's not. I don't have to worry about the judgment of people that I don't care about their judgment for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Like my old girl would say all the time. She was like, "You can go to sleep at night, right?" Like, yeah. Like, don't even like she know I ain't gonna stress her, but she like just continue to do what you got to do, because at the end of the day, it's always about the union.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, with you and your partner, because even before we got married, like she reminded us like, hey, man, you know, when y'all get married, whatever y'all got going on, that's between y'all. You know, like just you know, y'all can come to me for advice, but don't tell me like one day I come and tell her like what's going on in the house. No, just work it out. Cause that's the best. Right. I mean, even before we got way before we got married, like I learned from my past. Even though I was really not that type of person to talk about like problems in my relationship, but when I met her, I made a promise to myself that I'm not gonna tell anybody about what's going on in our relationship. I don't care how bad it is, because you never know what the people think, and then when people say something, it's always like most of the times a negative remark. Right. You know, and relationships is not perfect. You know, you gonna have disagreements and stuff and like that, but I'm not going to go tell this person, tell that person, put it on social media. You know, a lot of people do that and stuff like that. So it's like it's always great to put it, you know, keep it locked down and stuff like that. Because my best friends, I'm the only one that's married doing like my core group. So they always ask me like, what's like how you do it? I'm like, we've been married for like almost a year, but I tell you that you keep it, you know, and pat, you know, it's smooth sailing.
Yeah. But to like even the freedom part, like John, way before we even got married, was able to express himself how he needed to with me, and he even said it to himself. Like he said it to me one day. He's like, I've never been able to. Like John cried in front of. Sorry, John like cried in front of me, and he literally was like, I've never done that. And with anyone that I've dated, right. And to me it was like
I was like Batman. If I cried, like I close my eyes.
To me, it was like, damn, this is real. Like
right.
The trust and the foundation that we're building for each other is like strong. And to him, like there are certain situations that we're going through now where, as a woman, if I was just any other woman who looked at life any other way, I would have been like, deuces, I'm out. But I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I have to build you, because if no one else, if I don't do it, your mom's going to do it, but your mom is your mom. But as your wife, as your partner, as your friend, I have to build you up, because the world is going to try and tear you down. Mm-hmm. And my job as your wife, and his mom says it all the time, because his mom, she even told us one time, she's like, you know, I know you're worried about me and your wife, but that's not, you can't do that. Like, you have to just be faithful and let God do what he has to do. Your wife is your partner in this, and she's there to pick. That's what a wife is supposed to do. And he's like, I felt guilty about that. And his mom was like, and I had to speak up. I was like, I don't feel guilty about it, because whatever sacrifice I have to make sure that you are getting to that place where you need to get to is a sacrifice that I'm making for our relationship, for our children, for whatever generation follows, for whatever person you get to touch on your way to that height of success that you want to be in. Whoever you come in contact with, your story is going to change their life. And I can't just sit back and be like, you need to do this, add more pressure on you. I need to take some pressure off. And even though I have to take a little bit of a load more, I'm still going to be there, because at the end, I know that whatever you do, it benefits both of us. And it goes vice versa too. There are times where like, I can't do it.
You've been with something, you had to tell something.
Yeah, I
was there, and I was telling her, just don't worry about it. You know,
we had just moved in together. Yeah. I was transitioning from the district to a charter school, so like my paychecks weren't right, and it was like, I can't help you with rent. I can't do this. I can't do that, and it was like a lot on me, because I felt like I was failing as his wife. He's like, no, you got it. Keep going. I got you. You got to do this. Let's do it. Like, I got you. You need the money. I got you. Like, it was that. And so it's vice versa. And that was, to me, what was important. To me, it shows that, like, this relationship is not built off of fumbly foundation. It's built off of a strong foundation that regardless what comes, it will withstand.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm a little bit opposite you as far as like sharing, because I have a couple friends that like just recently we had a disagreement and I got in the car with my friend on the phone. I was going. I do that too. Don't worry about it. But I also don't just share negative, right? Because there's also times that I call her and I'm like, okay, the next time he upsets me, like remind me that he just bought me the sweetest little care package because I'm on my period. Like, he came home and was like, I don't know what to do, so I bought you a heating pad and chocolate and flowers and everything you want. Like, here, like, I don't know what to do. So I was like, you know, and this is what those friends were for. Like, I was like, store that away and remind me that he did that the next time I'm just like losing my shit. So I think that's what's important also. And then, like, even to the point of the emotions, I'll never forget it. Like, actually, it wasn't very far from here. The first time I saw you cry. And to me, it was amazing. It was amazing because, so we do work for, like, police violence. We do police violence work. So we were together at this point. We had just won, like, a victory for a family whose family member was killed in Carroll City. So we had just come from the city commission meeting. We got everything that we wanted with our demands. Like, we had gone in there like 50 people deep, took over their whole meeting. Like, it was beautiful. We went to TGI Fridays on University and Pines. And we were sitting there with a bunch of our friends. Right there. Sitting there with a bunch of our friends, like, celebrating. And I don't even remember who it was that got killed, but the news was reporting that somebody else had gotten killed by police. And he got really emotional and he left the table. So I went outside and I was like, what's going on? And he was like, he was crying and he was like, I don't know what to do to help my people. Because in the same time that we can get this victory here, like, you turn around and something else is happening somewhere else, right? And he cried. And in that moment, I was like, I've never met someone that has so much compassion and love for black people than Asa. Like, ever. And just to see him not only cry, but then also cry for his people, I was like, oh yeah, we gonna be together. we gonna. that was the moment that I knew that I loved him. I didn't say it, but that was the moment that I knew I was just like, I have to be like with this human being in some way, like even if it's friendship, you know, whatever that looks like to be in his company and on this journey with him, like with someone who's so beautiful. I was like, this is it right here.
I think that every person in this table has like their own advocacy, because as an educator, I'm consistently advocating for my students, regardless of, I prefer to, like, not prefer, but my heart and soul will always be with my inner city students who do not get the privileges that they get. Right. But now I'm learning that God is sending me in a different direction, and it's a direction that I didn't even expect. But now my advocacy is now becoming more of a for special needs. So students with non-learning specific disabilities, autism, what else? Autism. There's so many. There's a lot. Like, I get lost, and not only because it's in my classroom, but it's now hitting me personally. Because one of my siblings has a daughter who is autistic. And so for me now, and then I've spent so much years with someone, I spent a year tutoring a child who was autistic. So now my passion has become not only advocating for my students who do work, that go to schools in inner city schools and don't get a lot of the privileges that my students who, I currently work at Aventura Waterways. And at first, I told John, I was like, I hate it. There's no challenge. I was bored. I was used to, like, consistently having to put more effort into getting my kids to do more because it was a struggle for them. Right. And even though I did more, there was more effort, there was more reward. And here, it wasn't as much effort and little reward. But then I started telling John, I was like, but my other class, a class of students who all have 504s or IEPs. For those of you that aren't educators, 504s are plans that are done for students who have IEPs, and 504s are plans that are done for students with disabilities. And so for me, I was like surrounded by this, and like that was my favorite class. Like, I was sending John pictures of like these kids doing things and them like consistently doing, and now that's my advocacy. And I know John does a lot of advocacy. Like his advocacy is more of like getting our communities to become business owners.